Hello, my people. Queen Elizabeth's legacy of colonialism is protected by black mercenaries. I am going to repeat that. Queen Elizabeth's legacy of colonialism is protected by black mercenaries. Please hit the like button and subscribe before we move along. Hit the notification bell to get alerts for more videos. Let me bring attention to two words. The first is mercenary. A mercenary is a person who will go to create wealth or success with no regard for moral protocols or ethics. A mercenary is a person who will go to create wealth or success with no regard for moral protocols or ethics. For example, suppose Britain wanted to destabilize Jamaica's economy and keep the people in poverty, being dependent on England, so that she will retain power over and enslave the Jamaican people. She could hire a mercenary from, say, name any country, Scotland, who would in turn hire a mercenary in Jamaica or in the Jamaican government. Someone who cares not about ethics but will destroy even his very own country for reward. Most likely money, right? And remember this. Some mercenaries do the work of the client without knowing that they are hired mercenaries. Like you can be hired for a job and you all you know is that you're doing your job, but then you're acting unwittingly as a mercenary. Yes, they know that they are hired just as the Jamaican Prime Minister knows he is hired, right? But does he know that he acts as a mercenary in support of foreign offshore companies that satisfy the desires of Britain and America to colonize and control Jamaica? And I love to say Jamaica and speak about Jamaica because the same situation would probably hold in other Caribbean islands and even in Africa. At least it is obvious that what he does effectively leads to that result. I mean, what the Prime Minister does, it is obvious that whatever he is doing usually leads to the result of hurting Jamaica in favor of Britain or other world powers. And when I say in favor of them, it keeps their yokes upon the necks of the Jamaican people. So even if you don't know that you're a mercenary, you're still getting the result of a paid mercenary. But does he know that it is his purpose as far as the British crown is concerned? Sometimes when things are that obvious, you want to say that it goes without saying that the person knows. But let's not speak for politicians at this point. We want to question them and let them speak for themselves. Again, I am not saying that he does not know the above, for he seems zealous to do the dirty works that either curse the minds, pockets, or natural resource inheritances of the people. And when I say him or his, I am not even talking directly to the present Prime Minister. I am talking, to the office. It is a consistent thing that happens over and over again. So don't get the impression that I'm deliberately pointing finger at the present Prime Minister because I don't see where what he is doing is anything much different from what the farmer once did. I am not saying he does not know that the US Manifest Destiny states that it is natural and inevitable for the United States to rule the Americas in wealth, power, and size. It is clear when considered along with the plot amendment policy that America literally threatened to prevent countries from becoming wealthy by that statement, especially along with the plot amendment policy, which some people look upon as a past policy, but not me. So, when a country literally allow an offshore company to exact policies of open extortion on the people, with the government playing the strongman role, do you get the impression that all the mercenaries involved knows exactly why they are in the picture and what their roles are? I am not saying that this is conspicuous. I am simply saying, you tell me, when the government who criticized Dudus decides that the poor person who worked the equivalent of 155 US dollars a month and pays 160 for light bill, that's like maybe that's more than they earn. But he must now turn around and pay the utility company for any damage accrued from any hurricane, plus the extra for any month that their profits fell beneath a projected figure of earnings. In other words, they have guaranteed profits, which was signed, on the agreement to them. So if they don't make certain amount of profit, the people have to pay them that profit. Does it seem then like the government is trying to help the people that are the same people that the government comes from? Do you believe that the government is trying to help their own people to grow? And considering that we are talking about fossil fuel electricity, which is unbelievably the main source of electricity, and considering that Jamaica pays one of the highest rate for electricity in the entire world, no, I am not saying that it remotely seems like a coincidence that the government puts the yoke of oil companies around the necks of even the unborn in a tropical country. You will know if it is a coincidence. How much would a mercenary be paid for a job like this? Not saying that the government people are mercenaries. Well, I already said, but for this point, I am not saying that they are mercenaries. But you will figure it out. Still, I'm wondering how many clerks, whatever they collect, or if a mercenary was doing this job, the same job that now the government happens to coincidentally get the same effect of the mercenary by doing their job that they say is beneficent. How much money would a mercenary get paid for doing the good job that your government is doing? Just wondering how many clocks that could buy. And a song pops up in my head. Real bad man, no Magdalena shots. You know, I always tell you that the sociopaths understand the way of perpetual motion. What they do, they tell you. They tell you whatever they do, even if they are cheating you. They tell you in order to keep karma off themselves. They don't want karma. So they want you to agree with the evil they do to you. So they tell you the evil that they do to you and allow you to agree. If you don't believe me, just keep looking. Let's work even together and I can show you in all these instances. They tell you what they are doing to you. Whatever the situation in the world, look exactly where or when they are telling you what they are doing to you. Let me give you an example. I remember I was in Boston and there were conversations about politics with Obama going back for his second term. While everyone was getting heated over a politician, and I watched with goose pimples. A young child, a cousin of mine, turned to me and asked, "You know what politics means?" No, because I know she was a smart girl, I made sure to say, "No, I don't." She laughed and questioned my education. Then she said, "Pali means many and ticks means blood-sucking creatures, so I do not like politicians." Light bulb moment here, right? Now, you might think this is a mere coincidence. I tell you that it is not. For example, I will say this, and Christians might be offended, but I cannot compromise the truth because of vain sentiments. I cannot compromise the truth for vain sentiments. Listen, when they put the spell of religion on you, they already told you that it is a God spell. This is what you actually call it. You say gospel for short, which simultaneously means a ghost spell, spirit spell also. So it's not actually a physical thing they are giving you. They are giving you word. Word is spirit. In the beginning was the word. Word is spirit. So it's a spirit spell or a ghost spell, like Holy Ghost or a spell and they go perpetually. It is a ghost, G-O-S-T, because it is word, a spirit spell. And it is go spell. Spell and the go because it is a perpetual spell that keeps replenishing itself. It doesn't stop. It will continue perpetually, right? And it is, as I say, a God spell, which you say in short as gospel. And what happened? They tell you, and then the circumstances around it always proves it. So, say for example, you look at the word and say it's go. It can mean anything. It's not God. It's not a D. Look at this other circumstances because 100% each one will come right back to it saying it's a God spell. Like for example, if I tell you that the word pray is prey, and you want to question, then I will tell you that all the circumstances around it is proving because you are the lamb to the slaughter, you are the prey, you are the sheep of the pasture, etc. You are the son of man who will be crucified, fight, etc., etc., etc. So you are the sacrifice. So all the circumstances around it will ensure that you already heard, they already told you, because they won't take karma for doing something wrong to you. They will be justified by you agreeing to something bad they want to do to you. It is upon you. So it is a spell on the go perpetually, that which continues to repeat itself perpetually and will not stop cursing the subject forever unless or until the spell is broke. That is the gospel. And that while it will be extremely hard for cultures to go away easily, it will not be broken so easily. Cults are stem cultures and they don't go easily. They don't go easily. I have scrutinized and analyzed the English language from top to bottom, and there is enough consistencies to agree that this is exactly by a design of protocol. Just like the Bible tells you that God requires the sacrifice of your children, It is too close to you for you to see it. Sometimes something is just too close for you to see it. And you will read it 100 times. But if someone won't point it out, you will die 100 years from now and think it's holy hallelujah. Now, let's go back to the point. They tell you that many blood-sucking creatures are serving you. You have been proven to love the politicians even more than you love the skirted, white, angry, and jealous sky god. You love them almost as much as you love the skirted man in the Vatican, whose name seems to be saying that the pontificates, something like that. Can someone write the title for me so I will know how to pronounce it next time? All I am hearing is the pontificate, and I don't know why he would be wearing panties. To turn a people into a prosperous nation, you must first identify the natal culture to build upon. Then you must build a societal template that is compatible to them, that will make them into one people. Because out of many, you have to make one people. You must create little laws to prevent anyone having a sense of injustice that isolates him from the masses, or our values for mindset cultivation. You must, but how would you do that when you do the very adverse to your children? You must enforce the little laws full time and aggressively. So the time, all the time. You must make sure that every important structure is in the image of the people. This is one of the most important rules when building a nation. You must make sure that every important structure is in the image of the people. The image of beauty is the image of the people. The image of greatness is the image of the people. The image of God, if necessary, is the image of the people. You must, it is crucial, make sure. I am not going to much details here though, but I might touch on a few points at some point in these messages in another video or so. We see the leaders from the beginning of the illusionary independence date until now do the very opposite of everything above, or everything that I just said, and the opposite of all the necessary requisite I could not mention at this point. Do you feel like these were perpetual strings of coincidences, or must we concede that they were deliberate acts of sabotage by mercenaries? Omar Davis' deal with the Light and Power Company or with the Backside Company could not be seen as coincidences if you bring out the list that shows the same pattern perpetually, the same perpetual pattern of coincidences. For example, if your country runs a lotto or a lottery, that revenue should be rewarding the people to the full 100% of its potential. It's a lot of money. If this company is sent to foreigners offshore, you take the labor of the people of your country and send it somewhere else. That is sabotage. That is the work of a mercenary. Did P.J. Patterson mistakenly give the lottery company away to outsiders? Don't you see the pattern yet? They are so numerous. Jamaicans find it difficult to set up business, but it is easier for foreigners because of unfortunate red tapes, and the government is still working hard to solve it after decades. See it yet? It is the system itself is set. I mean, one day I have to go into this and show you so many consistently the instances that proves that the system is there to hold back the people so that these mercenaries can come in and step in the spaces of opportunity. It's simply that. You will come from China, from the US, from England, from wherever, and just step in the spaces of opportunity. That you will do, and then these countries will always have power over the people. The people will live in slavery. Offshore companies, like for example, the white man who owns a hotel in the United States, he will get slave workers from Jamaica. They will say it's a program, it's a what they call it, they might have a farm worker program. You can go to Canada or go somewhere else, and they might have a hotel program. You go and you work for little chunks that their people will not work for, but they have you as offshore slaves. So when the companies abroad need the cheap labor, they can have you and they will hold you in that position, keep you stuck there forever. And they cannot do this without the government. So it's either one way or the other. The government, let me repeat this. The government is doing the mercenary work, right? Whether or not he knows. And if the government does not know that he is the mercenary, then wow, wow. Like if someone gain my trust, right? And he gives me a phone and say, talk to this man. Tell him that I own such and such a business and he must send this money. And I know you don't own a business and stuff like that. And I see this man sending money and I'm calling him and telling him where to send the money and stuff. At some point I would say, you know what, this guy is a scammer and he's tricking me to do scamming work. I just want you to think about that. All right. Suppose a Jamaican company, right? Like some Jamaicans want to go into business. Suppose a Jamaican company gets some contacts and come up with this brilliant idea and say, okay, we want to provide the internet service at a more affordable cost than the outsiders that operate like mercenaries to us. What do you think would coincidentally happen to them? If you have a building, a nice building, and I mean you're paying nearly $100,000 a month for light bill, and then you set up a solar system. You believe that you will see people coming from the light company and trying to intimidate you and telling you that you have to hook up with them also. You believe that? Have you ever heard of anything like that happening? Because if it happens, it would be deliberate extortion, right? And if the government is in any way, shape, or form behind it, the government would now be the strong man. So it would be serving the purpose of who? Because now you still have to pay, you are forced to pay the company. And it goes right back to the oil company. So the oil company is holding you in subjection, slavery. And their wonderful sirs, the wonderful sirs, Bustamante and Armand Manley, they say are the God given heroes to us. Maybe not to me, not to you, to you. They went to take a mindset culture from England, from the minds of slave masters for slaves, from the minds of white cultures, from the minds of white folks with white cultures for black folks with black cultures, from the mind of the children and of the slave masters to the children of the subject and of the enslaved, as if their circumstances are the same. It is like, okay, one man wants to build a arm uh, what do you call it? A complex like what everybody want to build a plaza. They say it's a plaza, right? It's a building. No, it's a complex, and the other man wants to build a simple house. And then now you wanna tell me that you're gonna use the blueprint for that complex to build the residential home, because basically this is exactly what we are doing. You want to tell me that you're gonna swap the you have a baby over there and you have a dog over there, and you are gonna swap their menus for the day and it's going to work. Hmm, that is just interesting. All peoples have different experiences and therefore have to be treated accordingly. And what I see them do every day, all day, every day, the prescriptions they even give at the doctor sometimes is for white folks, but they give it to black people anyway. And sometimes they tell them that you're short of this, you're short of that, but it's because it's not in the medicine. So these wonderful sirs, they went to take a mindset culture from England, from the minds of slave masters for slaves. They accommodated a culture that gave the white doll to the black child as the symbol of beauty. They gave a white god to their black race and told them to bow to it. They gave them white slave master heroes. They gave them a day called Emancipation Day and claimed that on that day, the white man, those families to the white god, told them that they were free, which is such a shame because the day you were born, your mother should have told you that you were free, fool. So, after the people began to free themselves from a subjective mindset, the black back and belly rat leaders took a sledgehammer and pounded the slave back into the brains of the populace. So now the slaves is in the freaking head. They turned them into slaves that worship white gods and claimed that they would become black people serving their own black interests and not the interests of the British crown. Hmm? Like the Governor General doing the royal white British walk and talking about no damn God save the Queen and expect that is going to shine a beautiful light on a black country, a country that the Queen had in slavery. They gave the people a subjective, passive minded, feminine mode national anthem, a national fins for hands begging anthem that never says, I am doing this, I am doing that. Our God give me strength to do this, our God give me strength to do that. But says God send wisdom, God do this, God do that with your hands at your side like a fin. So even in the mind, when they taught the anthem to the children in school as a root symbol of power, it has an effeminating effect on even the males. One day I will explain this, but if you compare it with the Star Spangled Banner, you will understand the difference between a subjective pussifying anthem and an active objective alpha mode anthem. The things that seem so very small are the biggest. Remember that. To make Columbus out like a hero and the white Jesus as the Son of God is extremely big. Let me tell you this. When you live in the USA and you go to a full stadium where the people will sing the Star Spangled Banner with pride, it does not only have a proper emotional effect, it also covers you with the spirit of that never dying soldier who was actually doing and not begging God. He never dropped the flag. He never dropped the ball. The mindset of the US is not to wonder if God blessed America. It is an affirmation. When you hear the Americans say God bless America, it is an affirmation. when it is spoken. Listen, listen. There is a difference. Some people think it's the same. It's a difference. An affirmation, an American saying, God bless America is making an affirmation. A Jamaican singing about eternal Father bless our land is actually a subject, a passive-minded female begging for mercy. It is subject. It is not an active nor objective person doing shit for self. We do not want to get lost on tangent, so let's try to go forward. Notice how nothing ever changes for better in any number of years, even though you ask, and the excuse is always about legalities and legislations. Begin to ask what legislations. Decide that there are no legislations, as you did not make any yet. You do not have to regard whatever the British Crown's mercenary politicians on both sides tell you as law. It is law when you, the people, decide so. You need no legislation to become your own state. God already gave authority to you and not to any outside forces. How can you be taking orders from the enemy and agreeing with back and belly rats that you must wait on white folks at such and such a time to do such and such a thing? Don't you realize that you must simply step forward and begin to build a sovereign nation? No one else must be involved in this authority. It is you and you alone. Once you agree to external doctrines, you agree that you are still owned. The back and belly rats know this because it is simple mathematics. Can't you see it? You believe in superficial stuff that need not have anything to do with you. Start building a country without agreeing on anything about law or constitution. In the end, this is the best way forward. Simply choose for yourselves, unite and decide. Britain must not have hand in your government. They are a different people. None of these laws were made or agreed upon by the people. They are not for the people. This can only mean trickery, whether by deliberate means or not. The politicians acted as mercenaries, and they do act as mercenaries to trick the people by putting superficial ownership of them and their lands in the hands of the British Crown. The act of declaring a 12-day mourning for the British Queen is to do this. Number one, to satisfy the ego of the British monarchy and prove that the island is still the subject. Number one. And number two, it is to double the shame of the slaves and make them keep them in a place where they still know their place as lower beings. Do you hear me? Did you see any 12-day mourning period for anyone who died of us? Any great person who died of us? So I'm telling you what it does now. It's a psychological thing. Mind science used for evil is sorcery. They even brought the spells of mediocrity on the people to make them poor, desperate, and have low self-esteem. Would you say that this is a coincidence too? It was these black mercenaries that convinced the people every time that Britain wanted to take more from them. How much money would you pay a mercenary to maintain this wicked system of exploitation? A song comes to mind. Everybody have the axe, we make it make lax. Do you believe that the reason why they consistently make the decisions that slave masters would make is a mere coincidence? Do you believe in a perpetual series of coincidences? If you had a husband or a wife who seem to be falling in that same questionable coincidence all day, every day, but they tell you it's not what you think. What would you do after it happened the thousand time consistently? Would you be the fool? I am not saying here. I am asking you. You be the judge. Peace out.